Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello. How's it going? Hi, Fiona. Hi, Delwyn, Amy, Carrie, Lynn, Malin. How's it going? How are you? How are you? I was so late to the office, but then I was just sitting here waiting for the stream to start, so I must have everything ready. We'll see. Hi, Casey. Hi, Beverly. Sound is good. Thank you for telling me. Awesome, awesome. It's funny because I'm watching in the YouTube control room, which is like where as a streamer I can look, and all of a sudden the video just was gone. I was like, okay, but it was fine. It was just showing me another screen. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Kathleen. Thanks for coming, everyone. If you're new here, I'm Sarami. I live stream mostly. I mostly live stream a project, but I do a lot of uploads too. Hi, Hannah. You know what I keep forgetting to do is toggle that live chat. Like if you're watching the chat, at the top of the chat window it says live chat or top chat, and I've been forgetting to toggle it to live chat for a while now. Hey, Barbara. Nice to see you. I love seeing your guys' makes in the guild. It's really fun. I just like it because we can actually talk about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't disappear. Oops, sorry. See, there's my screen. It just disappeared again. I wonder why that is. The stream's current bit rate 0 is lower than the recommended bit rate. Well, I have no idea what that means, so we're just gonna carry on. All right, so I'm making the Azores dress by Itch to Stitch Designs, and I am modifying it a little bit. I'm gonna do the sleeve as a short version. That's basically all I'm doing. I decided yesterday also that I'm gonna, instead of put a button and a button loop right here at that placket. Can you see that? My camera's really zoomed in, isn't it? Is it really zoomed in? Yeah, it is kind of. So right there, there's a little button and placket. I'm gonna put a really skinny tie, like just a skinny little tie made out of the same fabric. So let's see how skinny I can get it, right? Hi, Martina. I'm so glad, Carrie. I'm so glad, you guys. Yeah, me too. What is this bit rate thing? I'm just going to say, it says open widget. I'm going to open it because I don't really know what it's talking about. Open widget. It says my stream status is excellent. We love the term excellent in regards to anything, so I don't know why it's whining at me right now. Right? I will take excellent any day. For anything. Okay. So the other thing I noticed after the stream yesterday, and I totally blame all of you guys, is that the dress doesn't have pockets. I don't even know. I don't understand. Well, I'm adding them. I could see that the, you know, the smocking here at the waist might make it hard to position pockets, but once you position them, they're fine. So, yeah, I don't know, Carrie. It says it's excellent. You know? It says the suggestion, it's the audio. You say the audio sounds okay. We recommend that you use an audio stream bit rate of 128 kbps. Well, we'll just note that. Yeah, I'm gonna add side seam pockets. Oops. So I just have a pocket pattern that I use when this happens, and I cut them out, and so we'll add them to the side seams when we get there. But I just wanted to note that for anyone else that wants to add pockets, I will be doing that. There'll be simple side seam pockets. I do think keeping the overall look of the dress kind of clean and simple is probably the most flattering for the style lines. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do inseam, side seam pockets. They're not my favorite pockets. I know they're the most common, but they're always just so far back, you know, even though they're at your sides. I like hip or slash pockets the best. So sounds great, right? Yeah, I know. I did a little sound test. It's just the bit rate of it. It would like it. It says 0. Mine's at 0. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, all right. So I've never sewn with a elastic in my bobbin, and that is what you do with something like this when you're adding these gathers right here. It looks very simple. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm up for it, right? I just, like, I'm not worried about it. So I thought I was going to dive right into that with today's sewing, but I'm going to do it on Saturday. And the reason is that I think more people will be able to join us if they're kind of curious about that. And I'm just going to follow the general order of operations in the instructions for this garment, which has you start at the yoke. So let's do that. Oh, and you know, the other thing I want to, well, I'll do that after I do the backs. I'm going to make that really skinny tie, right? So, right? I know, Gary, exactly. And you know what? It could be that I do have a delay on my audio because I want it in sync with my video. So when I go like this, I want that to line up. Hopefully it still is. I have to change that quite often. It's honestly, I think if you're a new person doing this kind of thing and you have to deal with that, it's just like, oh my God, one more thing I have to figure out. And it's really not that bad, but it is kind of frustrating to deal with. I just saw someone post that in this like support group for sewing vloggers, and I just really felt for her because she's like, I've recorded this video. I think she only recorded a couple times. I record my videos many times, and then she realized her audio was out of sync. I was like, oof. Yeah, I don't even know how to fix that in editing. I've tried, but it's like millibytes per second that you're altering it. It's like, so I physically can't grab the slider in editing software and edit it that subtly. There's probably a way to click on audio and manually move it the amount you want, but you're just beyond my kind of pay grade at that point. So all the seam allowances, I'm pretty sure, are 1/2 inch. But I just want to double check the neckline because I was just about to do 1/4 inch because that's my default, but that is not the world's default. So I want to make sure I respect the seam allowance here. And I don't also print out all the pages. So I'm pretty sure it's 1/2 inch. It would be so helpful on the sewing instructions to have the seam allowance, don't you think? That's all I'll say about that in this video. No, I'm just teasing you guys. Okay. Yeah, right, Carrie? Yeah, it's not easy to fix either. I'm just going to put a stay stitch, which just means I'm going to stitch around the neckline here. Honestly, I'm not going to do it on the interfaced one. I'm only going to do it on the one that is not interfaced because this one's completely stable. And I'm just checking my stitch length here because I've been monkeying around with it lately. I'm using really small thread for me. Totally normal weight thread. I was desperate for a thread color, and this is the one I have that's closest. And it doesn't look like it's going to match. And look, I can't even see it. Isn't that weird? You see, like, the thread color looks kind of blue. Oh, it works. I'm just lucky. So, I would love timestamps, Beverly. Are you volunteering? You're so sweet. Thank you. Maybe I'll be less chatty. Or are you like, oh, this is a chatty one. I better offer timestamps. All right, so we have our yoke, and we're going to put in some gathering stitches on the top of the back. The sewing instructions for this are mostly going to be identical if you're doing the top or the dress. Oh, Casey, I'm using this linen I got from a fabric store called Maker's Fabric, and I had it pulled up yesterday. It'll come right up this time. Let's see. It is, they have like brushed linen twill right now. This is I've said this before, this fabric store is definitely one of my weak spots. There are 3 different greens. This one, I'm pretty sure I picked the one I linked, which is a khaki green, but there is an avocado green that I think, I'm pretty sure it's not that avocado. I'm pretty sure it's there's 4 different greens. There's a sage, a pine, an avocado, and a khaki. I would guess it's about 4 ounces. It's pretty lightweight, but it also has some body. Like if you did pants, they'd be pretty lightweight pants, but it would work for very lightweight pants, you know. So, all right, so I'm gonna put in 2 rows of gathering stitches inside the seam allowance. I saw your seam allowance, love Nancy, for 1/2 inch. Me too. I actually really like 1/2 inch seam allowances. I won't be doing French seams on this project. I'll be using my serger. I could do French seams. If I had a little more seam allowance, I could kind of make them work for this. And the reason I'm not is just purely because of the elastic. I just thought I would kind of keep that area a little simple. So, yeah, right, Casey? I know, Kathleen. There you go, Beverly. Thank you. It's like, oh, you know what? My stitch length is kind of short. I'm used to seeing my stitches a little bit more because the thread weight I usually use is a little heavier. Not that I'm advocating that. It's just I have a lot of thread in this weight called Tex 40. And I'm using it, you know. That's all those cones behind me are the Tex 40 weight. But most of the thread you're using on the spools from the fabric store are lighter weight. It's called Tex 27. At least with this kind of thread. Yeah, I should have upped my stitch length. I forgot. I've been doing so much sleeve sewing because I was teaching that how to fit a set-in sleeve thing. And I don't change my stitch length when I set in a sleeve because it's not gathers, it's just an easing stitch. So, all right, this is pretty tight. I'm not sure how much we need. Where did I just see? There it is. I just want to see, is That's probably, yeah, this is probably too much. I don't think you really need a whole lot of gathers. So we'll just take out some of this. All right. I like doing 2 rows. I was definitely one of those sewers who, once I got a little better, I stopped doing 2 rows because I was like, 2 rows, I can do this in 1. You can do it in 1, but the gathers, they just don't look quite as nice. It does make a difference. And I think you know what I mean. Like when you get the gathers looking a certain way, this is just too tight. There's something about it that just looks so nice when they're hanging straight off of the seam and they're not kind of higgledy-piggledy, you know. That is definitely a mark of having 2 rows of gathering stitches. I don't remove my gathering stitches on things like this unless it's really easy, you know. So, but look at this. This is too short. The linen's obviously not so light. It's, you know, like I think handkerchief linen, that's the lightest weight, correct? Pretty sure it's the lightest, one of the lightest weight. This isn't sheer, it's not handkerchief. You know, it's got more body than that. All right, slide some here, let these intermingle. You can tell my gathers don't look that great, and it's mainly because I changed my stitch length right about here on this 1 row. So they're not lined up with each other. Hey, Michelle. You know, I say that a lot, and I was chatting with some friends, and I said something like, oh my gosh, look at all this. It's so higgledy-piggledy. And they were like, what did you say? And they couldn't even say it. It was hard for them to form their mouth around those 2 words. And I was like, higgledy-piggledy. And they were like, what does that mean? Like, I've never heard anyone say that before. I was like, I say that. I say that all the time. They're like, you've never said that before. And I was kind of surprised they had said that. I was like, what? What are you talking about? All right, so I think for this one, you might assemble the yoke first. The shoulders, I mean. And then, let's see. Yeah, and then you can do the like burrito style yoke. Technically, what you can do is just, you know, you could just put the back on like this, right? In a sandwich. And then you have your shoulders, and then you just put your shoulders together. You don't even have to do the burrito method. So, Libby! Oh my gosh, are you serious? I like that you're incorporating the local speak. I don't know, Nancy. It was pretty funny. Well, and I don't understand how they've never heard me say it. I talk to these people like almost every day. Hasta mañana, iguanas. You know, I used to know someone that had, oh my God, I just am like not thinking right now, that had so many versions of that. And I really wish I would have, because when I started saying that, they started saying a different one every time. Ray has said a couple that are really cute too. You know, kind of like see you later alligator, but they were more like the hasta mañana iguanas. And I really wish I would have written them down because they were pretty good. So when you're doing this kind of thing where you're, you know, got gathered edge and you need to find the center, I really like putting the center as a divot on the gathered piece because it's a little easier to find than a slit. And obviously I'm not, oh, where'd mine go though? Was it further down here? I know mine has it. I saw it. Well, what the heck? Mine's like right here somewhere. I mean, does mine not have that? Oh, well. You lived in Iowa. Okay, Libby, have fun. Say hi to your daughter for us. I'm just going to assemble the back, and then we're going to assemble the front, and then we're going to, well, we'll see. I'm going to try and clean finish the front yoke. I know that's might not be possible, but I have to understand why it's not possible. Oh, I've actually never done the burrito method, Beverly, but I could show my method if you want. That because I don't like crumpling up my whole garment. So here, we'll just put our shoulders together. We'll kind of stick to the directions. Where's my other? Here we go. All right, so these are your front yokes. Get your interfaced ones together. And we're going to do our stay stitch on this neckline of the front as well. So your timestamps are all over the place now probably because I keep changing what I'm doing. I feel like my way is a little faster than the burrito method, or easier. For some reason I think, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing either way. You could do whatever you want. Right? All right, so let's put the shoulders together of our inner yoke. This is the one without the interfacing. Put my stitch length. Oof, these so small. Put our other one together. All right, so we have this one here, and we'll press the shoulder seams. And now let's do the outer yoke. My shoulders aren't lining up perfectly, which is kind of curious. I need to come up with a name for it. Didn't we call it the taco method? I'm gonna press these shoulders really quick. Ah, nice, Kathleen. You always get the feeling the burrito method was stretching the yoke and neckline. Yeah, the good thing about the burrito method is I think that did I change the camera? Yeah, I did. I think the good thing about the burrito method for folks is, from what I can tell, is that it's very easy to keep track of things. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of benefits to that. And, you know, because when I use mine, I always say, now remember, you know, you're going to have to keep track. All right. It's almost as if these seam allowances look like they're supposed to press. Like, look at that. This one has a wing on it and this one doesn't. It's interesting. It's almost like they were supposed to press a certain direction, but they don't work that way either. Because this one would press towards this one and this one would press towards that one. Meaning if you wanted to follow the little wing. All right. Hey, Sydney, how's it going? Oh, really, Martina? That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that isn't, I mean, I invented it, but it's not like I was trying to invent anything. I just, at the time when I was sewing lots of things like that, like yokes and shirts, I was kind of in the shirt making rabbit hole. I wanted a way to not have to clean finish the yoke, because for a long time that's what they had you do. You would, you know, do the whole thing like you do a cuff, where you would fold one edge under and then hope you caught it on the right side. And so I was like, well, I don't want to do that. And so then I was like, why can't I just do this right sides together like a pillow, you know? And that's how I got there. Yeah, I don't think, I honestly just don't think you should sew all this together to get to that point. You know, like I think you should actually just put this on now. Right now, because this isn't the kind of yoke a shirt has. Yeah, so it doesn't matter in this case because there's two yokes on there's an outer and an inner on this garment on the front. Whereas a shirt only has one layer of fabric on the fronts. So, remove. So, you know what I mean? So, in other words, I don't think you have to do any of that. I would just sew this together, right sides together. I don't know why it's not like that in here. It's making me think like, am I forgetting something here? Why wouldn't you just sew those right sides together? Yeah, she shows the burrito method in here, but it's not necessary. I guess it would be maybe if you'd done the neckline. Hi, Lydia. Do you know what I mean? So because this garment has an inner and an outer yoke, and the fronts have an inner and outer, it's not like a shirt like the one I'm wearing where there's only one layer of the front going to two layers of the yoke, and you need to clean finish your shoulders and the bottom of the yoke. Then you would need to use one of those methods, burrito or whatever food you're doing. But where this, you're not tethering it at the shoulders together, so you don't have to do that. So if I have this sewn here like this, I guess then I can't do the neckline. Is that what it is? That's what it is, right? Yeah, I think that's what it is, because you're tethering it at the neckline. Okay. Fair enough. All right, so you might have to do the burrito method actually. Let's just follow the directions. Meaning, let's do it in the same order so that I know I'm gonna get into the same pickle anyone would. All right, so we're gonna do the neckline seam now. I'm gonna do it just to the left of my stay stitch. Yeah, it kind of is, but you can get yourself into a pickle because your neck needs to be clean finished at the end of the day. So I might be oversimplifying it by what I'm saying, but I don't think it's hard, you know. I'm trying to ease this in because the interface is a tiny bit smaller. One of the ways I've been combating the pieces like from shrinking when they're completely interfaced is I'm also ironing the piece it goes to the same amount. So when I interfaced this yoke on the right here with the woven interfacing, I ironed these pieces that aren't interfaced as much as I ironed the ones that are interfaced. That's how I kind of am getting away from it. I'm going to trim down this neckline to 1/4 inch. It's just a little less bulky. And then we're going to clip the curve. I'm going to no, I don't actually need that anymore. I was about to put my center of the back neck there, but I don't need it anymore. All right, let's clip this curve here. It's interesting. My stay stitch and my seam are the exact same thread, and they look different. It's probably the direction or the bobbin. They're the same thread, but that's pretty funny. All right, I'm gonna understitch this, and she says to stop an inch away. And that's because you're going to need to use this edge still in the seam. So we're just going to understitch this to the uninterfaced side. If it makes it easier for you to press this first, let's just do that, because I think that is a good practice. If you can iron it, I think you should. And the reason I say that is because when you're understitching this edge here, you don't want this to kind of lap over here. I'm exaggerating it, right? So making sure that seam is completely pressed one direction will kind of help it go all the way to the inside once it's understitched too. I feel like I just filled my iron, but it sounds empty. Let's just put a little water in here. I really can't live without water in the iron. This water bottle works so good for pouring water in here. Who knew? All right. So press that seam towards the lining. I'm so tempted to roll it to the inside and already press it, but we don't need to do that yet. We're going to understitch it first. Thanks for subscribing, DJ Remix. Right, Malin? I totally agree. Yeah, I think that understitching is one of the most fundamental sewing stitches you do that makes the biggest impact. All right. And of course, I somehow unthreaded my needle. It should be easier since it's tiny, tiny thread, but because it's tiny, tiny thread, it almost is kind of wimpy when I try to thread it. The other stuff is a little stiffer. Oh my God, how hard can this be? All right, well, see you Saturday. Okay, come on. What the heck? You know what it is? I'm using a size 14 needle too. I never do that. My biggest secret is I sew almost everything with a size 16 needle. All right. I had my machine maintained a couple weeks ago, finally. So that's kind of cool. I hadn't had it maintenanced since I bought it. Well, I'd never had it maintenanced. So that was the first time he'd seen it since he delivered it. And I am pleased to say it is the first time ever I did not need a new throat plate. I have a little throat plate collection from all the ones I chew up. Remember, you need to leave some space right here because you need this seam to be able to be right sides together. And if you understitch it, what happens is you can't fold this down and get a good seam edge right there. So don't forget to leave that. All right, so what's her next step? Let's just try and do it the right way here. Okay, we did that, we did that. We did the neck. We did the understitching. Now you do your button loop, and then we do the yoke. So I was really jumping the gun with that. All right, so here's my little ties. And if you want to do this, I doubt anybody else wants to do this, but if you do, I have figured out the length that you need in order to tie a bow because it takes a little bit more than you think. And I have cut, I think this is, I just cut an 18-inch piece, but when I measured it, it was about 15 inches that you need. So I'm just going to, you know, use this extra length so that if I chew it up when I'm turning it right side out, I can cut off that icky bit. I really, really, really want a narrow tie. I don't know if I can do it. Let's see. I didn't do bias either. I just did cross grain. And I cut it 3/4 of an inch wide. Oh my goodness, that is skinny. It's truly going to be the size of spaghetti. That linen, man, it's so firm. Not firm, but I don't think that was very straight. I'm a little worried about the straightness of that. There's no way I can turn that right side out. There's no way. There's no way. I just, once I see it, maybe down here I could, but not down here. I got a little too narrow. So let's take this out right here. Because I was going to trim my seam allowance, but I can't, there's no way I can fit the seam allowance inside this size. I think that sometimes you just have to do it to know what's not possible, even though you can't imagine it. You know what I mean? Am I going to be happy with a standard size tie? I think I'll be happy with that. I just sometimes get fixated on, wouldn't it be cool if, and then I can't let it go, you know? Look at my linen starting to really show that it's linen too, so. I really went narrow there, didn't I? I don't know if you can see this, how narrow I went. Yeah, I don't think that was going to work. A little ASMR seam ripping for you. Probably could have just cut another piece out faster. And if you weren't here, that's probably actually what I would have done. Oh, is this that's the underside, okay. I've learned if I'm doing it this way where I do a little section and then I pull it out, I can't switch sides. It's kind of like a gathering stitch. You would lock it up and then you'd have to unpick each stitch and they'd be really tight. So, you know, you gotta be monogamous to the side of your seam ripping. Okay. We can get kind of close and I can cut the rest off. So what do we think will be an acceptable width? I feel like it's limbo, you know, like how low can I go? Do I think I could get this turned? I don't. I just don't. I think that it would chew it up too much, and because it's linen, I also think the loop turner would pull through the fibers. Using that other loop turner could probably work, the one that's like a tunnel with a stick. You know, I was thinking that too, Nancy, but I was thinking I would burn the heck out of my hands. And what she's saying is, you know, you fold it like this towards itself, and then you fold it again, and then you edge stitch it. Look at that. Even using what I have here, that's pretty narrow. Why would I want it any narrower than that? Sheesh. All right. We're going to go big. Because when it's turned right side out, I also think the seam allowance filling it up is going to make it appear smaller. You know, because it's going to go like this. It's going to fill it up, which makes it narrower in the width. No, don't veer off like that just because I can't hold you. What are you playing at? All right. Let's just see before I do my other one. I do have the other loop turner style, but we've all established I am not smart enough to use it. I don't know what is wrong with me. I cannot figure it out. I learned while watching that fold line weekender thing that the trick is to sew across the end. See, like just getting this started is going to be so hard. I really want ties. I don't want a button in a buttonhole. I don't really like that style, and I don't find they work that great. They work okay. I shouldn't say they don't work great. But it's hit and miss whether you can get your loop around your button shank to stay. This is when timestamps is going to be great. I just need to get it a little bit. My awl is right here. I am never not using my awl. It's true. I just need to get a little bit going. I don't know though, maybe I should try that other method again. Sorry. That's a good point, Malin. They're not very stretchy. I felt like doing the loop in fabric at least gives you a little bit of give. I was also thinking you could use some elastic for your loop. Oh my god, this is kind of painful, isn't it? It's so close to starting. There's just not enough space in there. Oh, and now I've got it stuck. Okay, well, this is why you put extra. Look at that. It's on the side. So could I try the other one? Let's just try the other one. And then I'll let it go and I'll do a regular loop. I can admit defeat sometimes, right? All right, so this is what I learned at that sewing weekender. I saw someone using it and I was like, okay, that makes sense. All right, so I sewed across the end. These things are how much does this cost again? $13. All right. So place any tube all the way inside the sewn item. Okay, well here's where we're going wrong. My tube's not going to fit. Malin, can you handle that for me? That person. I really want skinny straps. Maybe I'll do what Nancy said. Let's try it. Thanks, Malin. All right. Let's just try it. There's several ways to go about the same thing, you know? This is how I make straps for bags when I don't have the right width webbing, or I want them to be made out of fabric and match. But obviously on a much grander scale. Much whiter. All right. This will work. Thanks, Nancy. You know, I thought about this yesterday and I was like, nope, that won't work. It's not as bad as I thought. I've done straps before, and maybe because the straps are heavier duty fabrics that I'm using, like webbings and things, I have to iron them for longer, and it does kind of burn the heck out of your fingertips. All right, now we're going to do this side. The wool mat is kind of nice for this because it holds the heat and the humidity. Kind of helps you shape things on the ironing board. Well, speaking of ironing boards, I'm recovering my home ironing board next week. If anyone wants to join me. Ow. I'm going to just copy the pattern. I need to make sure I have fabric for that project. I just realized I don't think I do. Okay. Oh, last folding. Now we fold it in half. Where's my awl? Oh, Terry did it? That's awesome. Terry's like, what's going on in here? I've just, you know, Terry, I've lulled everybody in the chat practically, probably to sleep, working on this darn little tiny loop. You like this method better, Beverly? Is that what I just saw? When I went and got my awl, I could see chat for a second. Yeah, I agree with you. It's very satisfying to do, I will say. And you can be somewhat precise. The other thing that's really great about this, as far as for straps, is that it makes the strap a perfectly even thickness throughout. And I love that because I don't like it when you're making a strap and the seam allowance along, you know, like one long end makes that end along the length really thick. And especially if you have to feed this strap into hardware, it's really nice when it's an even thickness. All right. I have to get a piece of fabric now. Okay, let me just cut this really quick. And 3/4. And I just do it the length of my ruler, which is 18 inches. Just to make it easy on myself when I'm cutting it out. Sorry you can't see me. Gotta straighten it up a little bit. 3/4. All right. Ironing board fabric. Yeah, exactly. You have a tiny bias maker for this? Really? This tiny? Oh, interesting. This feels so wide now that I've gotten through this one here. All right, so let's do this first one. This first one's kind of your guide. You know, it puts the fold line in the center so that you can have a guide to fold the cut edges to. I decided, Terry, that I want to make a little tie instead of a button and a loop, and that's how I got into this, because I was going to sew it and turn it, and that did not go well at all. A little tiny bias maker would be pretty helpful for this. Maybe spray, would spray starch be good here? And yeah, the silicone fingertips, that's an excellent tip. I don't have those here. I have something like that that came with my hair. Ow, ow, ow. That one was hot. My hair wand thingy. Okay. Yeah, so the steam on the ironing board's kind of nice. It kind of starts pressing it for me. All right, on the other side. Everyone who watched this on the reload or the replays, I'm really happy. They didn't have to suffer through this live. When it gets too hot, you go to the other end and start pre-pressing. The linen is pretty amiable or amicable to this. Amicable? Amiable. What am I looking for there? Amenable. Dang. Sometimes having a vocabulary doesn't help. But then when can you say things like higgledy-piggledy, right? Those are essential. I don't know how else you describe something being higgledy-piggledy is. What is a synonym? All right, last swipe. Whew, let's get out of here. Phew. 1/4 inch. Ooh, the bead knot. That sounds cute. Yeah, I have definitely seen that ironing fabric. I actually have some. Wonky. I love wonky. Yeah, right, Carrie? Well, there that thing sits. Still. All right, the one thing I didn't do here was I need to finish the end. You know? All right, let's just sew. I'm probably gonna have to start kind of part way down. This is exactly the kind of thing that would get stuck in my feed dogs. You guys get that? Topsy-turvy. Yeah, but that askew, like topsy-turvy, off-kilter, that, like, for me, I guess you could say that. I think higgledy-piggledy is just like everything kind of all over the place, but yeah. That's a great tip, Barbara. I don't think my machine would go this narrow. Well, my machine would probably go this narrow, but I don't think it would fit inside the tube is what I decided. And the serging would be thicker. But that is such a good point. Cattywampus, that's such a good word. I love that you both wrote that at the same time. Are you guys all Googling this right now? Discombobulated, that's a good one too. And when people say discombobulated instead by accident. Okay, this isn't hard to sew. I'm eager to report. Okay, so I'm getting to the end. I have to finish the end. Otherwise, it'll be a little raw edge. Can you guys even see any of this? It's so tiny. It probably would, Lynn. Or Carrie, yeah. You lay on the end. Okay. I want these ends to be inside here. There's just really not a whole lot of room. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a triangle out of this fold right here. Just a little one. Well, maybe. Let's see. Okay, so I just cut out a little like wedge on the fold line. I should have done it before I started sewing. Learn from me. This way, when I fold this, I'm hoping, and I fold it towards itself, there's room for these little things to, oh, there's just so much thread in here now. And then I fold it in half. I don't know if that made a big impact, to be honest. But when I tuck these in here, oh, to be a robot that sews this kind of stuff. Whew, I'm just going to go straight down. I'm not even going to go across the end. That turned out okay. What do you think? I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of an end right there. But I'm pretty happy with this as is for now. As long as I can get rid of these little threads. Yeah! I will prevail. All right. This end, let's just cut that right now. Okay. Ooh, I almost started too close to the end there. Did you see that? Let's get rid of some of these that aren't loose. Oh, well, that was lovely. Can you please grab that? Thank you. Gosh. Yeah, I like that. I like the bead idea. Someone could, I guess, make tassels. Not really a big tassel liker, but it's a possibility. This right here is a little over folded. See that? Right here. Can you imagine what this would look like in sewing instructions? I feel like it's easier to explain than do. It's like when, you know, now we all know, like, making a microwavable neck pillow with rice. That's easy. Stuffing it, that's not. Terry, you could handle this, the threadiness of linen. The payoff is worth it. Linen is just, you would love sewing it for other reasons. The crispness, you know? Okay, that's my next strategy is I pinched those together inside. If this isn't an advertisement for an awl, I don't know what is. Yeah! Okay. I just won the battle royale of making a tie. Let's just hope I don't lose it. It's so teeny tiny. Don't you think it'll look cute as a little tie? Yeah. Okay. So where were we? Let's put our tie on here. And so this is how I did it. Right, Terry? It's so good. Yeah, I'm going to test it here. Let's test it right here. Right? So I'll most likely do this. So I allowed for actually, you know, putting the little knot in there. I didn't want my tie to be very long. I definitely knew I wanted it thin. I think that's great. And I think it could actually end like right here. Right? So if this were on my neck, you don't really want this really long. So if it's like right here, I think ending about right here would be good. So that means we need to take off like 5.5 inches at this edge down here. So I'm going to take off 6 because I had that little bit of extra. And let's make these the same. And here goes. All right. So what I ended up with my finished length is 12. 12 perfect inches. So. Okay, so let's see here. So now we're going to tack these in at the neckline here where I think the triple notch is on the pattern. I'm just going to put it right at the top, to be honest. I'm going to put it right up at the top, like pretty close. That's where I want it. Sorry about did I really unthread my needle? Oh my gosh. Never thread your needle while you're angry. I'm going to take my foot off the foot pedal. Just so you all know. You don't have to worry about me. Okay. Okay. I'm going to do another little stitch since this is probably a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I don't want that to droop angle wise, and then I'm going to get rid of these little threads. All right, let's do the other side. And I think on this side I did the stitching was up, so we'll do the same on this one. Don't unthread. You know, my mechanic was like, so, have you been having thread tail issues? I was like, are you trying to tell me that my tension's really high? He's like, you have the tension really high. I'm all, well, yeah, I've been using top stitch thread. He's like, oh, okay, good. I'm really glad you're not having tension issues or thread tail issues. He thought what was happening was every time I was done, my little thread tail was probably unthreading the needle. So, hey, Ray, you missed absolutely nothing. Oh, man. Okay, so we're going to go down to that first notch, which, please tell me I have on here. Here it is right here. The tips of my scissors aren't doing what they used to do. I just made a teeny tiny tie, Ray. That's about it. Took me forever. All right, let's get all of our linen threads out to the raw edge here. And we're gonna sew down to that first notch. I can't see it, so I'm just looking for it. That's it right there. All right. Instead of the loop and the button, we learned what Sarami can't do, that's for sure. She still can't operate that loop turner that confounds her too. I thought today was going to be the day I was going to triumph, but I just don't think it was the right situation for it. So people swear by that thing, so I know it works for people. It's just, I like my other way. Or which feature? What industrials? Yeah, threaders on industrials. No. No, in fact, I'll bet most people that have the industrial, there's a needle guard that adds an extra layer of fun when you're trying to thread your needle. Am I right, Terry? Or did you remove yours too? Look at that. I put that pretty, I knew I didn't put it right at the top. And that's fine. Like, don't let something like this trigger you that your tie isn't right here up at the top unless you never plan to tie it. You know what I mean? So, because once this is tight, it's going to be fine. And I find that sometimes you'll get other issues when you do push it right up against the top there, but it's fine if you want it like that. All right, so I think we're going to just press this. We don't understitch it at all. I kind of want to. All right, we're going to press. Yep, you took it off, exactly. Yeah, so there's a needle guard that prevents you from your finger getting too close, but it prevents your finger from getting too close. Look at that tie. I'm really happy with that. I'm so glad we just did it that way. That was a good call. All right, so let's press our neck here. Oh, linen is such a good fiber to sew, you know? It makes your sewing look so nice. Makes it look so crisp. It's got some, you know, some of the bad attributes of it is that it gets thready, it kind of grows and relaxes. It also means that it's kind of flexible. It'll stretch, you know, over this little edge here to make it lay nice and flat. And it'll probably stay like that forever and ever from when you sew it. That looks pretty nice. I feel like I should have probably put my stitching down. But I think what I've learned is when I do the bow, it makes the folded edge without the stitching on top. But I don't remember for sure. That's why I didn't really say that. All right. All right, let's attach this to the body of the dress. Hi, Elena. How's it going? Yeah, we tried a few different ways, Ray. All right, let's see, Beverly. Do I need to do burrito, taco, or neither? All right, so if... Oh, yeah, so this, I think you would have to... I mean, I think the easiest thing to do on this is probably the burrito method. I think that's what this is. I actually don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's just rolled up in there. Hi, Lindsay. Good morning. So if I were not doing this the burrito method, this is what I would do. This is how I do shoulders on yokes. I'll just show you. I'll just like show you how I would do it. So I would probably start at this end actually. So I would have, this is my outer, and I have it against there. I'd make sure it's all pinned nicely. And then I would just take this other one that goes to it, right? This edge, that's the edge it goes to. I would go like this, flip. And then I would just sew it. I wouldn't roll up the whole garment in there. But for something like this is such a long stretch, I think rolling it up is probably a good idea. You know. Never heard you do what, Amy? I don't think I've done anything different yet, have I? Snow day. Oh, that's funny. You're not allowed to go into the building, but you must work still. So when you guys do the burrito method, do you pre-sew? And then do you do the other side, or? Yeah, so then you could roll this up, right? This is how you do it. I mean, you'd have to do this anyway, so. Yeah, I see Lindsay in Zooms and, you know, makes me miss summer, but summer makes me miss, you know, winter. Oh, I see, Amy. Oh, I see. That's awesome. Yeah, right, Elena? I'd never do that. I would think like you could just sew it, but this with the gathers, which I still have too many gathers. There's really not a whole lot. It doesn't take much, clearly. That looks better. The trick too is you could probably stand to put a stay stitch along this bottom yoke edge if you, like me, you're doing it in a linen and you're a little worried by the time you get around to it, your linen could be kind of stretched out on a lounge by the pool when you get there, and it doesn't want to come in from outside, you know, and do its chores. So it's had too many, you know, daiquiris and stuff. Hi, Walter. How's it going? Musician's House on Curiosity. Oh, I started to watch one of those videos and I got interrupted. I have to go back. I subscribed to the channel to make sure I don't miss out. Oh yeah, Wheel of Time, exactly. Did you guys see that Bernadette Banner did a video on sewing her dress? I haven't watched it. I've only read the books. That's all. I've only read the books. I haven't finished the series, but I've read... What did I tell you guys? I've read, like... Oh my gosh. I've read... we're going to pretend like my needle didn't get unthreaded again. 9 of them or 12 of them. I can't remember. It's probably 9. All right. Oh, so just to be clear, here is my... It is a burrito. Look at that. My whole dress bottom is inside here, rolled up. I think you could probably pre-sew it if you're a little nervous about this. I would like to, because see what my gathers are doing? I kind of wish I would have now pre-sewed it a little bit to make sure my gathers lay nice. Because when you're crumpling up the whole garment like that, it's kind of pushing up against the seam. So I probably should have pre-sewed it. It's kind of like pre-gaming, right? This is not feeling right. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I gotta look. I gotta look. You know me, I sew without pins all the time, but there's a time and a place. You gotta like prep. You know what I mean, jelly beans? This is it's too crumpled in there. See, now I can kind of like pull the gathers down a little bit. Oh, is that, maybe that's what it is, Elena? I would rather sew this yoke to the dress with hardly any pins or no pins than sew the whole yoke with pins, but both of them at the same time. See, so I can, this is what I like to do. I like to pull my gathers like this so they're kind of straight down. And they're not, you know, higgledy-piggledy. If you have a lot of gathers in something, your gathers can do this thing where they fold over one another right there at the seam line. And then it kind of hangs funny. And you see that and you're like, oh, I don't want to fix that. Because getting in there near all your gathers is such a pain, you know? All right. I'm glad I did that. I forget those pins aren't magnetic. Okay. Now roll up the dress. Put the yoke on. It probably would be, oh, sorry I keep bonking the microphone. It would probably be a little bit better to do this from the other side of the other yoke because you could see your stitch line. But because mine's a little bit hard to wrangle, I'm going to keep it on top. But you know what? It would actually ease a little better if this was, this loose side was against the feed dogs, probably. All right. What chocolate is that? Yeah, Leia, I don't usually do it for when I do like yolks and things, but this is different. You kind of have to do this. It's either that or you could sew it and then turn under the edge and edge stitch it down. But because this is fully lined and the neckline is already sewn, you kind of got to do this. Okay. All right, here we go. Now, you can decide if you want to top stitch. I'm not going to. I'm going kind of that like nice, clean, simple look. I'm going to iron it though. £8 pounds of chocolate. What? Chocolate covered peanuts. Oh my God, that is one of my favorite things. Chocolate covered peanuts and almonds. Ooh, that is. I have to say, you guys, like oh, maybe you guys don't even know this, but I'm having to like moderate my black licorice intake because it's affecting my blood pressure. I have really, really low blood pressure, and now I don't. So I'm trying to like chocolate a little bit more. I like chocolate, it's fine. It's just not my, it's not my love language. Just gonna give us a good tug. This is the inside of my dress. It can be a little wrinkly. What's that? Why'd you do that? That better just be water. Okay. You got surgery needles. Who cares about surgery needles? Okay. All right, Beverly, I did a burrito yoke. Are you happy? Probably first time ever on here, huh? It's very useful. Okay. So now we're going to attach the fronts. Not the sleeves, not the pockets. Here we go. Now, we're going to connect this. I will admit, this is not how I would have drafted this. I think that if you wanted a little simpler, what I would do is I would put this on the fold down there, and then I would just make this a V. I won't go into that very deeply, but I think getting this right here, this juncture, the precision of getting this juncture can be kind of tricky. So when you're going to sew the bottom part of this yoke and the bottom part of this yoke, make sure that you're lining it up from this point going down. All right. Don't go from the bottom up to this juncture because this is where things can kind of go wrong, to put it simply. No pressure. You're happy, nice, Beverly. I'm glad. I couldn't get away from it there. You could see me trying to, huh? Let's see. Let's see how I did. I'm going to go from this way on this side now. So, you know, you're doing your outer yoke and then your lining yoke, right? And so the way it feels kind of awkward. You can see it's looking kind of awkward too, right? So just concentrate on the 2 layers you're working on. Tune out the rest. It's going to feel funky. And just make sure that you don't take no for an answer, right? So line up that spot. Don't catch that yoke in there, just the one you're sewing on that seam line. I'm hoping mine comes out okay. I'm tempted to snip it right here, but something tells me I've gotten into trouble doing that before. But it's not what I shouldn't treat it that way. And I can't quite remember, so I'm just going to trust my instincts. So it's looking like this. When you see this in the instructions, your mind is thinking, why wouldn't you just go from one end to the other? But now you can probably see why that's not possible. So let's see how I did. So now this is how it's going to look right there. I don't know why I have this extra stitch right here. What is this? And where are you? You're on this one. Are you... You're this stitch right here. Who do you belong to? Okay, so this is part of my original stitching the facings to one another. That's what that is. So I'm just going to kind of redo that spot right there. This is probably where it's all going to go wrong. I still have that. So let's just pull out this thread right here. Where are you? Are you on this side? All right, I'm just going to trim it close then. Okay. All right. Let's iron. Chocolate Brazil nuts. It's not one of my favorites. I like how big they are though. Those were always the ones in the See's Candy Mixed Nuts tin that nobody ate. All right, I'm going to press these separately first. I still haven't like clipped anything, and I don't actually think it's going to be necessary. I think that people are going to be nervous about sewing the elastic bobbin stuff, and it's going to be this that gives them the most trouble. That's my prediction with this pattern. But that turned out pretty good. See what I mean by having it on the fold down here would be pretty nice. Not having a seam there. All right. This is my outer yoke. So now we're going to attach it to the front. Should we look at how it looks with the little tie? Oh, that seems like a deep slit. I have to break in my little tie, you know? Okay. Oh. They're really good from Hotel Oh, are you on a trip, Fiona? That's how I felt when I got my shipment of licorice. And then I had my first, it wasn't really a physical, but I met my new doctor, and I was like, I'm just going to warn you, my blood pressure's kind of high because I just got some black licorice. And she was kind of like, And then she saw it and she was like, oh yeah, that's not okay. And I was like, darn, I was just thought it would be funny. She didn't laugh at all, you know? Okay. So this is also the next part I think is going to give a little bit of cause for some, you know, consternation in the sewing. So I've been thinking about this since I bought the pattern. One of the things I've been thinking about is, can I clean finish the yoke like I did on the back? And I could. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to treat the yoke as one and then set it into this spot. And I don't have a problem with that at all. But, you know, it's like, I think you know me well enough to know that I'm like, well, could I clean finish this? Because I think that this dress would be really nice if I could. And I think the best way to do that would be how I attach collars and cuffs and things, where I sew it from the inside yoke to the inside dress, and then I sew the outside one on and I edge stitch it. So that means I would have top stitching, which I'm not a big fan of. So I've been kind of trying to think, like, could I set this in right sides together? I don't think so. But you know I want to so bad. And I don't think it's possible. I just don't think it's possible. But I want to so bad. All right, let's put our gathering stitch in. I'm going to put my gathering stitch across the top of both fronts. And then another row. So yeah, could you do this? You could do this where it was top stitched, you know? And then you could always, you know, put a line of stitching on the back yoke and it would mimic it, right? You'd have your top stitch. And the way I would do this is basically I would do the instructions, but only on one layer, and I would do it from the inner lining to the wrong side of the front. And then all you would have left is the outer yoke, and you could turn it under and edge stitch it. What do you guys think? Oh, that's right, Fiona. Enjoy the Brazil nuts then. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think I should... I want it clean finished. You know? The inside angle. I think though that, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that either way, right? Oh, there's another bot. We don't usually get those. I usually get those bots in comments. You guys never see them. Yeah, exactly, Fiona. That's what I'm thinking too. Especially because the back would be clean, but the front isn't. So I'll try it. Ooh, Carla, you're speaking my love language. I love binding. You could do that. You could do the binding. I think it might add some bulk, so you'd have to be okay with the bulk that would add. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to finish it somehow, like with an overlock or a zigzag or something, because you're gonna have this raw edge on the inside if you don't. So what if I, sewed this just to the inside, then you pivot. Am I causing myself some problems? Binding badges! All right, okay, let me think about this. What do I want? I think the first thing, well, while I think about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my seam allowance in these tricky spots. I think starching this could be a good place for starch, right? I'm such a starch noob. Oops. I kind of just, I want to try it. I kind of want to try it. So let's just try it. It just, I feel like it won't be that helpful for people that aren't doing it this way though. Granted, I'm still sewing it the same way. I'm only just doing it one layer at a time. So there's that. That doesn't look very straight, does it? Okay. We can stay stitch this too. Sometimes you can stay stitch instead of using chalk too, as long as you do it on the inside. Mods, can you time Barbara out? No, I'm just teasing. I do not know what this hand sewing thing is that you're talking about. Like, I've never heard that phrase before. All right. I think what's driving me is the idea of seeing it clean finished on the inside is kind of appealing to me, Was this my bobbin side? Oh, I already pulled this one. Okay. So let's pull this side. Okay. I saw someone's, like, I asked, some of the reels, they still play in your feed on Instagram, right? I don't unmute them, and I don't watch them usually, but some of them are nice and short and you can just see what's happening and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to click on them. And I saw someone saying when the instructions say to hand sew, and they're just like literally like almost throwing the pattern away. I'm like, right, Nancy? Me and Nancy are like, oh no. Now don't hate on me for not liking hand sewing. I've gotten better. I will do it. I find it satisfying, and I agree. You can control so much with it, so. But I do get a little bit bent on, well, can I do it by machine? Not because I think machine is superior. It's just really that, you know, I know most things are sewn by machine that we're buying in the store. So could we do it? You know, like how is it being done? And a lot of those things, they're being sewn by automated machines, you know, some of the things, some of the details you see. All right, so let's see. Do I have this about the right amount? No. It's like, I think the front has slightly more gathers than the back yoke, or the back. That would be kind of, you know, understandable because of the bust. Okay. This is what you do when you're trying to decide and you're kind of thinking it through. You do all the other little things, right? Oh, I don't think so, Sydney. That seems like something Shim might do. But that's what they would have done back then. They would have hand sewn. And sometimes it's just about the process, right? All right. Oh, how did I do this one so much more? So it doesn't look like more than the other side. Wow, okay. Okay. In the instructions, I think you start at the bottom of the yoke. Let's look. There's hardly any instructions for this, by the way. You're supposed to stay stitch your yokes together along that raw edge. Align, cut edges. Oh, okay, I thought I said cut edges. Yeah, and baste them together, and then you're going to, you know, reinforce those interior corners, and they have you clip it. Great. She has you start at the bottom of the yoke and go up, and then you repeat the other side. All right, I like that because I think you're going to get the greatest chance of symmetry. And by that, I mean, she has you start at here, go around, up, and then repeat it for the other side. So let's put in a stay stitch. We're going to do it. This means I'm going to have top stitching on the outer. I'm fine with that. It'll look nice with the linen anyway. I'm just doing my lining side. Oh my gosh. This thread's so lightweight that it just keeps coming unthreaded. You know what? I wonder too. I'm gonna click that. That might help. Let's see. It might make it worse. I can't remember. I went one stitch too far right there. Oh, did you hear that? I don't like that. All right, anyway. Does she, Aisha? That's awesome. Or he. Oh, I think, Carla, a lot of folks do that, and I think it's a great method. Exactly, and you've never had to redo a zipper. Yeah, that's winning. All right, Sydney. You let it know who's boss. All right. The thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to mark the center. Oh, actually, let's sew the corners of this here, the interior corners of the, I'm on the dress, the bottom of the yoke. Just try and keep this nice and straight. My my stitch length is too long for this stay stitch, unfortunately. I should have changed it. All right, and this is the inside. All right. All right, so to be really clear, since it's hard to tell, I am sewing the lining side of my yoke to the wrong side of my dress bottom. I know that would probably make a lot of folks uncomfortable. I see people do my some of my videos on sewing from the wrong side to the right side, and they still can't bring themselves to do it. Here's what I have to say about that. You have complete control then of how it's going to look on the right side, and that's why I do this, but you don't have to, you know. There's so much stress it's pulling off my table. I'm going to clip into these corners here where I stay stitched. Don't clip into these corners and then go have dinner, go on vacation, and then come back and think that it's all going to be right where you clipped it, okay? Don't clip those until you're ready to start sewing. Clipping the corners of my yoke now. I'm only going to do the interior one first. I mean, if you're doing like poplin or something, fine, it might behave. But if you think the linen isn't going to go on vacation too, it might not ever come back. I'm just telling you. All right. I'm going to sew with the yoke down and then my dress on top. Let's see if I like it that way. All right, don't get any of this stretched out because now I have my gathers as well. All right, and so we're going to line up the center of this cutout. See, right here. Night, Malin. Have a good night. Sleep well. All right, we're going to center our yoke on the seam. We're going to center our dress on the yoke, center of this yoke here, that seam there. All right. And we're going to start from the center. We're going to go on this corner. This is going to be a lot easier than you guys think probably too. So if you can, it's hard to kind of see. Let's brighten this up a tiny bit. And we're going to zoom in a little bit more. You know what I recently have realized I can do? I can tilt my camera without touching it. Okay. So just so nobody's getting kind of lost in the sauce of where I'm at, because I know we're really zoomed in. This is the center of my dress. You can see this little fold, right? And that's the bottom of the cutout. And so we're going to go to this little point right here that I clipped to, and we're going to pull this around and line it up with the yoke, and we're going to pivot it around. Okay. So I'm just going right next to those stitches. And so underneath, you see here's my yoke right here. We're going to pull this around. We're going to line up the yoke. Keep them separate. Unless you're not, you don't have to keep these separate. You can do this right sides together, the outers, and treat it all as one layer. Exact same steps. You're just going to have 2 layers of the yoke together, and then you'll have to deal with your raw edge on the inside. That's all. And you can still do that after you sew all this with your straight stitch. All right, so here we are. We're going up the side of the yoke here. And we're coming to our next corner right here, right? I know you can't see it, but it's going to be on the screen in a second. Make sure your all these little threads from your stay stitches are towards the raw edge. And now make sure you don't, for me, I don't want to catch my other yoke in there, right? Because I'm doing this from the inside. I'm trying to clean finish, all right? So there's a lot of threads going on mine. So here's my gathering stitches. And see how I have this going past it. So right here, the juncture of the seam allowances, right, is 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. That's my pivot point. So that should hopefully be lining up with this pivot point here. It looks a tad high. I think we can still deal with that. It's much more accurate to go by what the yoke is doing rather than the dress. The dress has some flexibility. The yoke, not so much, because you really want those to be symmetrical. All right, so get all these threads towards the raw edge. All right, and I'm making sure I don't catch my other yoke. And so I'm going to kind of mark with the pivot point under there, which is right there. I don't know if you can see my yoke kind of, my awl poking out right there, right? There it is. That's where I want my needle on my machine to go. And then I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to swing this around, right? I'm swinging my yoke around. This is the edge going across on the bodice. And now here I'm going to swing around the gather side to line up with this raw edge. And we're going to, we'll make sure, we'll pin it, right? Like this. This is our last little section. That wasn't hard, right? This is totally fine. Now we're going to distribute our gathers, because this is it. Forever hold your peace after this. You're not going to want to adjust them after this sewing. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of make them nice and straight. Try not to get them folding on each other. They're, you know, obviously, like, they're a little slack. Get them a little tighter here. Okay. All right. Let's see how it looks. So this is the inside of the garment. Not bad. There's a thread there. And then here's my other corner right here. All doable. Look at that. That looks pretty darn good. You see my little wrinkles there? That's fine. That's because it, you know, when you're sewing with linen, if it's folded anywhere and your presser foot sews over it, you've created this crease that is a little bit, you know, like, looks like it's showing off your bad work. This is, it doesn't look right there, but I think it's just because the, yeah, I think it's fine. And remember, all of this raw edge is going to get pushed up into the yoke too. All right, so let's do our other side. Oh, it's a lot of dress at this point. That's one thing that is making it a little bit hard. Okay. So now we have the awkward thing of we're going to start and we're going to go, oh, I want to sew this from the yoke out. But the thing is, that means that I'd have to sew from this side, the yoke side. We can do that. We'll do it. It's a little harder. I think it's a little harder. Maybe it'll be easier in other ways. We'll see. All right. Okay. So this time we have the lining yoke is on top And then here is my dress underneath here. And then look, I have this thread here from the start stop of the other one. Let's just pull that. Don't you dare unthread yourself. I saw you. All right, here we go. So I try and keep these corners like this. I don't start straightening them out like this until I'm there. You don't want to stretch that out. You don't want that corner to get really hard to deal with. So I just kind of keep it in its natural state like this until I get there. Now, theoretically, if you're on the seam allowance, everything should line up just fine, right? So this is the same thing. We're going to pivot, find our pivot point on the yoke here, just right here. All right. And then we're going to rotate around. It's already clipped under there, so it wants to rotate. This one's not wanting to rotate as well. Look, it's a little narrower too. I had to go, since it was already clipped, I had to go by the clipped side. Now, if you're starting to feel little folds, like I feel like a little fold in there, let's look at that. It's just the dress, and it's fine. It's not actually going to get sewn. So let's keep this. And remember, I'm on the inside of my dress. So even if I get a little tuck or something, this is actually not so bad because it's on the inside. No one's going to see it. But when we finish it with the outer edge stitching of the yoke, then we want to make sure that's when we get it really nice. All right, so here we are. We're going to line this up. And this is supposed to go, you know, a ½ inch past that right there, right? So somewhere like that. Let's get this seam allowance a little back on track here. All right, so now we're getting up to the top here. At least our interior angle now is on top. All right, and same thing, we're going to rotate it. And then this edge goes along the gathers. And so let's check them out. I can't really see them from this side. So we just want to make sure they're about the right width, and then let's just adjust them a little bit. These look nicer than the other ones did. Okay. So a lot going on here. Let's pull this down here and let's see what it looks like actually. Okay. The stay stitches in the corner are coming in really key. I want to pull this little stay stitch thread actually. Okay, it's just a cut thread. I just want to make sure it doesn't get in the seam that I'm sewing and then to the outside, because those really short threads are really hard to cut. I don't like sewing on these gathers where I can't see them, so we're hoping that everything's okay in there. I'm just going to pull them down. So I'm just in here in the dress, and I'm kind of pulling down the gathers to make sure they're nice and straight. They don't feel like it. It just feels bumpy. Okay, let's look at them before. So was this my seam? All right, so I sewed, okay, good. I did sew on the outside of the gathering stitch, so that's good. All right, let's see. That's that corner. And here's this corner down here. Kind of wonky a little bit, but not too bad. Better than on the outside, right? All right, let's press it all. I'm trying to just determine if I want to close that window. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. You guys are all quiet now. This is linen. All right, so this is the inside of my dress. But if you had sewn that in 2 layers, right sides together, this would be the outside of your dress, right? Okay, I think I'm going to press the seam allowances in. So this is the right side of my dress right here. I'm kind of excited this will be clean finish. Let's hope I can pull it off, you know. It didn't seem like there were that many steps to what we did today, but we did a lot. We're almost done. All we have to do is the smocking and the pockets, sleeves, hems. I guess we have enough. Okay. So I've given this an initial press. Before I trim any of these corners, I just wanted to see, you know, how it's looking. So this is the inside. Nice and clean. Can you imagine this is the inside of my garment? Ooh, I hope it's gonna work. I mean, it'll look a little differently once I top stitch everything down, you know. The stitches won't be perfectly on my yoke. I'm fine with that. So now at this stage, what I would do is pin this yoke kind of around the perimeter here so that these layers don't shift. I have all these random pins on my ironing board here. We'll just grab a bunch of these. You also don't want your yoke to shift in general, right? Like this is, see how that's not lining up on the shoulder? Is that just because my lining yoke is stretched a little? Probably. It didn't get the interfacing, you know? All right, so I'm just gonna pin kind of away from there. So now it's stabilized, and when we go to turn this under, we know we're not gonna be pulling it in the like deeper part of the yoke, okay? Well, that's a quality pin. These little pins I got in my Fabric Godmother box are kind of nice, and they match my dress. Okay. I ran out of pins. Hi, Sue. Oh, nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi and bye. Oh, my label. Now you say something? Well, shoot, where am I going to put that guy in? That might be a hand sewing thing. All right. So you could iron this first, but I will say, like, I kind of like not ironing it first, because when I do that, what happens is it's really hard to battle a crease if I don't want it there, you know. I kind of want to stay stitch these corners, but I'm not going to, because I think that they're going to be in a different spot. Like I can see the corner of this one's like right here. In fact, what we can do is go like this. Pin from the other side. So that's where that, oh, that actually looks pretty darn accurate. Let's stay stitch it. Let's see how it goes. I should have done that before I got that guide in there, huh? Probably should have drawn my seam allowance in there too. I really like living on the edge sometimes, don't I? Okay. Oh. Okay, what, Kathleen? Oh, maybe you're a different part. Oh, wait, what? If you're following instructions, we're doing it differently. Oh, I am clean finishing it, Kathleen. But if you're not going to clean finish it, you can do what I just did. But you would do that by keeping the yolks together, treating them as one, and even, you know, stitching around them and making sure you do your stay stitch in the corners, the same thing. And then you do it right sides together to the dress, rather than for me, I just did it right side, the inside of the yoke to the wrong side of the dress. So I'm just clean finishing it. And now, like, I'm doing a little bit more work than you're going to if you're going to follow the instructions. Like I do, you know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Oh, here it is. I do plan on, like, just overlocking the seams, though. Instead of French seams, in other words. This dress is so heavy. I'm gonna bring up the camera and zoom it out a little bit. I'm close. Yeah, I'm close. Yeah, and I think Amy's reading them as I go. So let's figure out this pivot point here on this side too. I think that I'm not the only one in thinking that there's probably someone out there that would want this clean finished, you know? And that's why I just thought, it kind of occurred to me that it would just look, it's such a nice dress, you know? All right, so I'm gonna do a stay stitch in this one as well. I'm not sure this is actually gonna help me. This actually could end up being something that makes it a little harder to do, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because I think that it could be helpful. All right. Because I need to clip to those corners, and that's kind of why I wanted to do that. All right, now we're going to pin it down, and then I'm going to top stitch it. Tell me a story. You know, the one thing I forgot to share with you guys yesterday, a couple things, because I was sharing with you the patterns I've purchased since we had, you know, last sewed together in December. Showed you those patterns that I got, which was like a few stocks pattern, couple stocks patterns, 3 style arc, and then 1 love notions. But I also bought the Cashmere Ahead of the Curve book, which is fantastic. And I did it because I had recommended it to a friend. And then she messaged me and she said, I just want you to know that I made something out of that book. And for the first time, like, it was the closest on the very first try I've ever gotten to getting to something that fits me really well. But she's an excellent seamstress. She actually sewed my wedding dress, so she knows what she's talking about. And I thought, you know what? I really need to buy this book. I just want to see. So I bought it. It is a really good book. There's nothing, you know, new to me in there. But it's all the right information. That's what I'll say. All right. I feel like I've got to like go a little further than I really want there. You know? And I also bought the Montrose top by Cashmere for my sleeve fitting. It's my skill building session that I just released. Because I was thinking that would be a good sleeve to start with. And I thought, you know what? I should just buy it and go through the motions on a live stream one of these days. Yeah, I think I didn't need to stay stitch that. Because what happens is if you have to cut through the stay stitching, now you're got the threads of the stay stitching to deal with too. See, there's my little thread. So we'll just pull that guy out. This is another thing. Don't you dare clip that and then go on vacation. And then the other thing I wanted to share was Hearts Fabric sent us, I think, 5 or 6 new projects for this year. They're like, you know what, we really want to send you a big batch. And I was like, go for it. And there's a Merchant and Mills pattern in there. There's what else is in there, you guys? I shared it in the guild a few weeks ago. There's a noodle head divided basket, which is something I've actually wanted to sew. What else is in there? There's another pattern company I haven't sewn before. Can't think of who it is though. Right now, this little fold is way past my seam line here, and I think it's because, well, I know why I'm doing it, but it's because I want these sides to be symmetrical width, and this side was looking a little narrower, so that's why I'm doing that. All right, so let's get this corner in there. I'm just gonna kind of, maybe I'll leave I'll cut this off. This is the inside one. There we go. Look at that. That just looks so nice. This is probably going to make people mad because they're like, dang it, now I want to do it that way. You don't have to do it this way. Just overlock it. If you have to overlock all this, because you've clipped these corners and things, you've made it so that, look, you can go overlock, you know, overlock, overlock. Like they are 3 straight passes on each side. So you don't have to do any kind of tricky interior corner serging. You can just go straight across, secure your serger threads in the seam allowance. Okay, let's take that does look right where it needs to be, right? So let's take this stay stitch out. At least this side is interfaced, so it's very, very stable. That's the good news if you're doing my method. I know there's going to be that one person out there that's like, there's no way I can do that on the right side of the garment. I'm going to do it on the inside. And the problem with that is when your bobbin thread is what's going to show on the right side of the garment, unless you decide to sew it blind from the right side. Sew it blind meaning the inside. And it, I don't know. I think you should, I just think this way is a little easier. You have more control. Oh, the new Cashmerette Ahead of the Curve book. These pins are too small. If you didn't interface this for some reason, what I would do is interface this corner before you cut it. Just put a little piece there so it doesn't get thready and fray. Yeah, sure, Kathleen. It's a book dedicated to fitting curvy sewists, busty sewists. It's got some really great like before and after pictures. I'm being very conservative with this little corner here, understandably. You sort of want to be able to over rotate what you're turning back at this corner so that you don't have a raw edge there. It's tricksy stuff. And you want to be able to stitch really close to that edge. It's looking pretty good though. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I have is Concord the knit one? The stretch t-shirt? I bought the Montrose because it's a woven. I think it's a really, I have a feeling it's going to be a really good place for a lot of people to start with their set-in sleeve, as long as you're in her size chart. And now that it goes down to 0, there's more chance of that. I'm going to clip this corner right here. I'm just going to trim some of those bulk out. There goes my pin cushion. It's a lot of dress. So on that side, I folded it up. Let's be consistent. Meaning I did the fold along this long edge first, and then I folded this one up. See, like this? Either way, they're tricky because of this little corner that can pop out. Look at that though. It's really far over there. See how wide this side's wider. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. I thought it was right on top, but maybe I'm not. It's more like right here. Oh, these pins are rubbish. They're not rubbish, I shouldn't say that, but they're just too lightweight for me. I don't know how people don't use quilting pins. What does that say about me? Okay. I'm just feeling some thickness there. That's why I keep fussing with it. Doesn't really need to be like that, you know? Just get rid of those little linen threads if you've got them. What I don't want is when I do this edge stitching, because of that thickness at that little juncture there, it's going to make my machine not want to stitch in a straight line. So I'm just trying to prevent that right now. Why not, right? Okay, let's see if I can get this a little bit more symmetrical. And then we're almost ready to stitch it down. You should do their calculator because, yeah, Nancy. Oh, no, these aren't bendy at all. But I have the thicker ones. The shorter ones are thicker. These are bendy. I don't really like those. I don't like these. Sewing patterns are drafted not for your bra cup. They're drafted for a sewing bra cup. I didn't even realize this was a kind of a thing. We never talked about this in college, I have to tell you guys. So I'm not sure why home sewing patterns have this distinction. And if you use the cashmere sizing calculator, which is what I would recommend doing, I would draft what it says to. I did have to do an SBA on the Auburn blazer though. But like this one, I wear double D. This is a C cup for the dress. And I just have to shut off my brain for that. Oh my gosh, I need to like think about what I'm doing here. Here we go. I want this to look straighter, please. I'm kind of easing that in a tiny bit to make it look more symmetrical, you know? All right, and I have the same bump issue on this one. I just didn't want to like lop that off right after I sewed it, you know, just in case. Because you can't add it back. And it's very thready. Man, in the winter my hands look just like, they're not very pretty hands, are they? Okay. I'm trying to make it what I want it. It's never a good idea. Yeah, exactly, Fiona. That's a better way to say it. Fine. I'll just stick with that. Okay. All right. We're going to give this a press. I know, I normally wouldn't, but you know, I'm growing up. All right, let's go to the iron, and then we're going to top stitch this down. Let's see how it looks on the inside. So when I go to top stitch it on the right side, this top stitch might end up on here, it might end up on here, on the inside of the dress, but no one will see that. And it won't look like that on the right side, even if it's on the dress, right? And not on the yoke. That'll be okay. This one still looks wider to me. I think it is too. And just because I'm having all these issues doesn't mean you wouldn't have these issues if you sewed it the way it is in the instructions. You just wouldn't get a chance to kind of even it out like I'm getting now. Okay, no dumping water on my project this time. Pretty excited to see this on my dress form. Do you think this slits really deep? While we wait for the iron to heat up, let's make a nice little bow. Maybe I shouldn't tie it. That might make it less bulky. Looks like whiskers. Okay. I've seen quite a few of these dresses, but I haven't seen very many in solid. If you're feeling a little bit like, I really want to make this dress, but this whole placket thing, this seems like a lot. What I recommend doing is, if you like prints, I would pick a print. It's really going to be hard to see some of the issues you can end up having with this yoke on a print. I wanted to do a solid because I really want to be able to see this really cool yoke detail on this dress. Because I missed it the first time when it first came up. I was kind of like, huh, it's all about that sleeve. And then I was like, oh wait, there's smocking. There's this cool yoke. You can kind of make it folky too. Like I was thinking it would be so sweet if this whole yoke was embroidered with little pink flowers on the green. I think that would be really nice. Okay, my only problem right now is this right here, I think. I'm going to just fiddle with this a little bit. And then we're ready to stitch. Push that in. I want this to be straight right here. I want this seam to be straight. How's it look? I think it's passable. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Amy. It doesn't look that deep in, you know. Yeah, exactly, Barbara. I know. It's very subtle. All right, let's do it. I'm going to do kind of a small stitch length, so wish me luck that I don't have to take it out. Not too small. It's a lot of dress, so let's get all this junk out of there. How's the camera look here? All right, this is it. Oh, that's right, I dropped my pin cushion, didn't I? Oh, here it is. Yay, my Eat Crow pin cushion. Okay. I will say, as much as I love top stitching, I actually don't think it's one of my strongest suits. Michelle. Nah. I've run out of pins before. It's probably a record for the most types of pins to use because I kind of been on this like pin journey, you know? And I have decided what I like the best, but it doesn't mean I don't have all these extra pins kind of floating around here. Look at that. It looks pretty good so far. All right. These pins, I have a little magnet here. I'm not a big fan of magnet pin cushions. In fact, I just don't like them at all. But don't feel like you have to hide that from me that you do it. I don't. It's fine. It's just my personal thing. But I do have a little magnet up here from the old days of sewing chicken boots, and I had a product with a magnet in it, and I just stored them on top of my machine. And it is a handy place to, that I would have like 1 or 2 pins. And I never got out of that habit of having 1 or 2 pins there. But I've noticed that these don't stick. Some do, some don't. They're all from the same package. I don't really know why. Don't fall off the edge. Let's not sew this ribbon or the tie. Okay, this one has the cut. I want to make sure I get. Oh, that went a little too far for that corner. Shoot. Huh. I'm pulling it in there more. I'm super try-harding, huh? I think kind of unconsciously I want to start, like I've unconsciously been thinking it in the back of my head, I really do want to start spending more time making my makes look nicer. All right. Let's take out all these pins. And we'll see it on the inside too. Look at all these different kinds of pins. This kind of bugs me that I've been doing that, you know. So I like these little green bowing pins I got from that Fabric Godmother box a lot. They're the right length and they're almost the right thickness. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see what the inside looks like. Yeah. Okay, so here's my point. See, look, see how the stitching isn't quite, see, that's my stitch right there, and it's off of the yoke. Doesn't matter though, the yoke is secure, right? No one's gonna see that. Otherwise, it would have been serged edges. So I'm fine with that if this is what I get. It's nice, nice and flat, so pretty. Cool. Okay, I kind of want to see it on my dress form real quick and then we'll go. I need to get the pocket placement on here too. My dress form, she looks really short right now, but look, she's my height. Oh, I need to still top stitch the yoke back here. It looks more like a capelet, doesn't it? What do we think of my little tie? Do we think that that was, maybe let's, I'm gonna not knot it this time. That lays a little better. So for those that wanted the V-neck, you know, you could do something like that. What do you think of that look? See, I think that's why you would want to round this edge here. I need to iron these little ties and break them in a little bit. They're a little boingy. I do need to tie it though. I can't get away from that first step. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think so too, Nancy. I like the tie. I think right here I have something going on. And I can see a little bit of my turned up edge, but I can deal with that. So let's just put this, top stitching on the back yoke, and then I lost my, there it is. Thanks, Suzanne, me too. All right. I was going for that kind of clean, top stitched look. But now that I am top stitching it, I really love the way it looks. Ow, ow, ow. All right. So now it looks like the front. That looks so much better than the top stitching I just did for this video. All right, cool. So on Saturday I'm going to add pockets to mine. And then I will do the shearing, the elastic shearing on the waist and my sleeve. So hopefully that'll go well too. Well, thanks for coming, you guys, and thanks for being a part of this journey. Pretty happy with where it's going right now. Where is this at? Oh, I see why that's doing that. Okay. Is anyone else making this? Oh, right, Beverly? I totally agree with you. And I have to admit, like, I usually use heavier thread because it's what I have, and this just looks so much nicer. Smaller stitch lengths, smaller thread. It looks finer, So, yeah, so, we'll see you Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific, same time, same place, and we'll finish up this dress. Yay! I'm excited. Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for being part of my tie journey and the clean finishing the inside. I think that was worth it for sure. So, cool. Have a good one, you guys. Have a good rest of your week. Don't work too hard, and happy sewing. If you guys are still interested in the guild, check it out. sewguild.com. It's really awesome in there. I'm hoping to see more posting and stuff. There's been a lot of posting in there, but it's been really awesome. It's so calming in there. It has a 70s vibe, you think so? Yeah, maybe, huh? Maybe that's why it kind of gave me that folk thing, Like this picture, doesn't this look so folky? I feel like I can see that in like white with some embroidery around the yoke, so yeah. All right, guys, I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for coming, and happy sewing. I'm looking for my little project. Oh, there it is. Okay, bye.